Yeah, yeah, yeah. Huh. Yeah. It's percolating. Good morning. Yeah. Good morning to the people on Facebook. Good morning to the people on IG. Good morning to the people on the YouTube. Good morning to the people on LinkedIn and Twitter too. Java. Percolating. Get a vibe, stay ready. Truth in the cup, keep it strong, keep it steady. Pull up a chair, yeah. Take a sip with me. Good morning, good people. Java with Jimmy. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, the love percolating. Love percolating. Java with Jimmy. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good morning. Yeah, the love percolating. Yeah, Java with Jimmy. Good morning. Percolating. Yeah, we in it. Yeah, we in it. Good morning. Good morning. Java with Jimmy. Percolating. Yeah, we in it. Yeah, we in it. Good morning. Good morning. Java with Jimmy.
Let me show you something.
Good morning.
You mean you don't trust the police?
Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Y'all see Evandro was already started, right? Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Let's do a test just because you know when I have a different setup, I just got to make sure that everything is working right. So I think it's on over here because, oh no, I thought somebody in the background was listening. Let me know that if you can hear me and that we are all good, and we'll go ahead and get started. Oh, there's a lot of y'all in here this morning. About the people in the room this morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Everybody, we are here today with Evandro Carvalho. He is the executive director of the Office of Police Accountability and Transparency. Thank you, Los, for letting me know. And Newt, okay, we're good. Happy birthday, Rachel. We'll get to that later because y'all know how it is when I have a guest. I'll do the personal stuff tomorrow. We are speaking with him today to really get an understanding of what the office is, what it has the power to do and not do. How do you file a complaint? I will say that, first of all, opinions and things said today don't necessarily reflect the opinions of Evandro as well. This is a very sensitive subject in the climate of which we're in. We found out over the weekend there was a police-involved shooting that resulted in a death. Very horrible circumstances, and we want to name both Mr. King's and this young man's, just honoring the family and holding space for that. But there have been police-involved shootings and also some interesting engagement with our young people in law enforcement, and so that's setting some context. I will say right up front, things that are under investigation, we are not going to talk about today, that he cannot do that. So for those of you that are waiting for that, keep on waiting. But Evandro, welcome. This isn't your first time, is it?
It is my first time.
It is your first time.
Yes,
in the Java
I'm excited.
Cafe.
Finally, I'm here.
Yes, but there have been other reasons to have you here before back in.
Yes, Jimmy. Thanks. For doing this. It's a privilege to see you, grow in the space. I remember years ago when we used to do this work, in the community meetings, and so just to see you still here and doing your thing, it's definitely a blessing to see. And want to welcome and excited that obviously that you have an audience. And I'm Evandro Carvalho, and excited to be here with all of you for this very productive discussion.
As I told you, I get very unsolicited stuff when certain guests come on, and you're one of them. And so not only surprisingly finding out, Evandro, that and thank you for that. But I want to jump right in, one, to honor your time, and two, to get the people the information. So people don't know, a lot of people don't know about OPAT and what it's supposed to do, the Office of Police Accountability and Transparency. I have to shout out my good friend and sister who was the first executive director, as you know, Stephanie
Correct.
Everett. And seeing that process, there were people in the community like Darren Howell and others. So before we get into that, not only about OPAT, but they may not know about who you are. And I always ask people their first time in the Java Cafe to talk about their story, because I think it's important where the story relates to the work that you're doing. So you can't preach,
Yes.
but if you could just give us a few minutes of your story and background about who you are, and then sort of ending with why you took this position, because toward the end of your story, you got a good lens in what this position involved. And so, you know, curious to hear
Sure.
that. What about your story identified with taking this executive director of OPAT, which is interesting. We'll frame it like that.
Thank you. You know, my story began in Africa. As for those that don't know, I was born and raised in Cape Verde, in Cabo Verde, and you know, essentially on my grandparents' farm outside of Praia, which is the main city.
Okay.
In a small village. You know, spent my day mostly playing soccer, you know, barefoot and running around, which I still run, and
Marathons and stuff.
Yes. Going to school and playing with my friends. And, you know, suddenly at 15 years old, I'm in Boston, I'm in Dorchester, right? No one know English. And, you know, particularly in Cape Verde, where everybody looked the same, but, you know, small, perhaps maybe 300 people around me at best. And you're in Dorchester now, you know, going to Madison Park, having to catch the buses, having to, you know, catch the train, having to be a black boy in America as a teenager, right?
Yep.
Barely, again, didn't speak any English, right? And so for me, those early years, particularly as a teenager, well, number one, those early years in Cape Verde cemented a couple of things.
Okay.
My grandfather, who passed away a couple years ago, God bless his soul, 92 years old. So
Okay.
I have a lot of years to go.
Yeah. And sound like you live a good life. 92.
Yes, 92.
Yeah.
He was a farmer, woke up early in the morning, 4 a.m. I
Mhm.
still do the same thing.
Okay.
So I would, you know, I was required as a boy
Yep.
to do my part.
Mhm.
Right. And so for me, getting up at 4 a.m. to go care for animals, to go, you know, in the fields,
Mhm.
cornfields, really instilled upon me the sort of, I think one of the key things that makes me who I am is that I work hard.
Okay.
Right. And number two, a few times that I could avoid doing those chores was when I had homework.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
So education was very, you know, was highly valued
Yep.
by my parents and my grandparents. So I was a good student in Cape Verde. Right. So
Okay.
when I came here, those two things I think carried on.
Okay.
And so, you know, in Dorchester, and one of the things that unfortunately we know all too often as Black men and boys,
Mhm.
you know, particularly growing up in inner city America, is interaction with police.
Yes, sir.
And for me, in the 90s, I know many call it the Boston Miracle days, but perhaps from a teenager point of view, I didn't always see that.
There needed to be something crazy for a miracle to take
There you
place.
go.
So I'm saying, yeah.
There you
I
go.
hear you.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I won't go into some of those details. Perhaps that's a different story.
Mhm.
But I have many interactions with police, and
Okay.
you know, and along that time, you know, a lot of this is when within the Cape Verdean community, particularly violence, I
Yes,
think
sir.
was mid 90s
Yep.
to early 2000s.
Mhm.
And so friends that I hung out with, and perhaps we weren't always doing, you know, making the best decisions.
Mhm.
Many of them deported to Cape Verde, ended up, you know, at least one of my best friends, Denis, ended up going to Cape Verde and got killed in Cape Verde. Others, you know, deported, others going to prison. So for
Mhm.
me, you know, my mother in particular never gave up. My mother was in the U.S. already, working 2 to 3 jobs just to feed the family and
Yep.
pay rent. Right?
Yep.
And in fact, my first job was cleaning offices with her on Back Bay. Right?
Okay.
So And I had a great teacher at Madison who helped me, saw some things in me and pushed me to college. So I ended up going to UMass Amherst, which UMass, and then Howard Law, Howard University School of Law in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And honestly, that was the school I wanted to go because I wanted to be, sort of Thurgood Marshall. One of the things I did at UMass was study African-American studies. This is not where you sort of becoming a young man, 18, 17 and plus, right?
Mhm.
Where you 20. By the time I graduated, I sort of have this very sort of conscious level of understanding of why things will happen to me, why as Black people, we are, right? Slave trade, which I knew some of this as a young man, obviously colonialism in Cape Verde and all those things. Amilcar Cabral, like Martin Luther King. So those men and those people really kind of, I was like, okay, whoa, all right. There's a reason why I am who I am.
Okay.
And there's folks that fought for me to be in spaces like this. So that's when I think the consciousness started to kick in. And I said, I wanted to go to Howard because that's where Thurgood Marshall went.
Okay.
And that's the first Black Supreme Court justice, right? That was appointed, right?
Let me ask you real quick. Sure. When was the thing? When did you know in there? And just because I want to value your time, we got a lot to talk about. But when did you transition knowing you wanted to pursue law?
Honestly, I think it was something that my mother and my grandparents fed to me.
Okay. Was it doctor or lawyer in the traditional? It was a doctor or lawyer. Okay. Okay.
I asked a lot of questions.
Okay.
Was an outgoing kid and did well in school. And I think they just said, okay, this is what you're going to be. You're going to be a lawyer. Right?
Okay.
And when I went to Madison, that's when they asked me because, Madison had all the different shops, right? But they didn't have pre-legal or anything like that. So they put me in data processing and computer stuff. So
that's where I was. What year? What year did you graduate?
1999.
1990 here.
1990. Okay. So the lawyer thing, honestly, it was family fed.
Okay.
And so that was the only option I sort of thought I had, right?
Okay.
Like I didn't think, I'll be something else.
It was lawyer or doctor.
It was lawyer, right?
So in the vein of lawyer, you are a former state representative.
Correct.
And also from there, I don't know if there was a break or if I remember that Evandro, remember that was interesting times. I don't know if you left to run for DA or
I did.
Okay.
I did. But before that, I was an assistant prosecutor. I was an assistant district attorney. That's very important.
That's right. That's
so
right.
I was a prosecutor in Roxbury District Court. Okay. I was a prosecutor at Forest Hills, West Roxbury District Court.
So I just want to point out, you have a different lens. Because at that point, would you agree that you were somewhat working for law enforcement?
I was.
Okay.
Very close to the police, which again, that's something you would never, as a teenager, never anticipated that.
Well, listen,
Right.
but I think to bring things up to date, I needed people to know the story, but then also make that correlation between the fact that you kind of know you're not a law enforcement officer, but you know both sides. You were a prosecutor.
Correct.
So you understand. Sometimes in prosecution, you're dealing with law enforcement, and you know what I'm saying. So there's context I wanted there. I'm gonna speed us up a little bit. You also ran for DA,
correct,
and did some other things as well. Let's get to when either I don't know if you apply for this or the mayor or you put your interests when Attorney Everett or now Registrar Everett was leaving. How did you tell us about how you landed in this position and what? Based on your history, knowing I'm sure you watched OPAT in its origin,
in its inception,
what made you how made you land in this position?
I think when I was a prosecutor, because I had inside look of the system, I wanted to change it. That's why I ran for state rep.
Okay.
And when I was a state rep for approximately 5 years. 90% of what I did was criminal justice related. In fact, it coincided with the time that Black Lives Matter was kicking up. Michael Brown had just been killed in 2014, murder by a police officer, right? And so for me, that became the lens. That was what my mission was. Like mass incarceration, we're talking about, right? At the time, we're talking about school to prison pipeline. These are things that I'm well versed in.
Yep.
So one of the things, and I'll jump into after the rep, but I think it's critical for people to understand this, that when I was a state rep, one of the things that I filed, one of the bills that I filed, when I was one of the first people that co-signed on the post commission that now exists, state
which
level.
is
right, that's
which is related to this.
Correct. It's the state counterpart to OPAT, right? Number two, I filed what then I called a special prosecutor bill, because I wanted incidents when police killed individuals in any, police involved shootings primarily at the time, because that's what was going viral.
Yep.
That a special prosecutor would be appointed, not the local DA, to handle those cases.
And did it get across the line?
I did not.
Okay.
Even the post, it was like a couple of us on this. So I'm bringing that back because to me, this is, particularly when we talk about movements, right? Civil rights movement for us, for Black people in America, particularly. Then the major one became Black Lives Matter movement. And I felt like I was part of that and inside of the system. So I'm trying to change it because it's happening. Black men are being and women are being killed throughout the country as I'm a lawmaker, right?
Yes,
so
sir.
I got to do something about it, right? So fast forward to George Floyd, right? He was murdered.
Just speed that up a little bit more, because George Floyd, we still going back, but speed it up to OPAT, only because I know I said about 45 in your world. Y'all schedule is interesting. So if you got a little extra time,
I got a little.
Okay. Yeah. So George Floyd, and then jump into when you got the call or you expressed interest.
I got the call.
Okay. Okay.
I was not.
Again, got the call. Let's just be playing from the mayor.
Yes, and her team and others, because Stephanie had left and they had some struggle finding someone to fit that could do the job. Yes, right. And so they called me, and I knew the job was going to be hard. I knew because I was part of that movement, right? I knew that it was a hard office and the ordinance was hard to implement, right? I knew that BPD, being one of the first, if not the first, law enforcement in the country, as they often say.
Its origin, let's just, while we're educating in your academic, in its origin, what was BPD founded for?
Well, to keep, property.
Keep property and property as in human living property.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
To be honest, I sort of, some of that, it's hard to sort of pin, but it was just to kind of control people, right? In a sense, right? And largely it's because of
on the plantations. But go ahead.
Yeah, right. So you're going way. You're going way back, and we can. But I'm saying BPD was over here. So it's harder to sort of connect immediately to those things. But the history's there. Right?
Yep. Enough of it. Yes.
Correct.
Sir. Yep.
Right. So, but so for me, I didn't right away look at it. But I also, when they called me, I took a hard look at it, and my wife, the conversation we had around it, because as you said, I had ran for.
Hold on. In the whole story, you didn't mention the wife. And how many kids? Are you gonna
3 kids?
Three kids.
Fix that. 3 kids. There you go. Right. So I mean, that's why I wasn't looking at that job. I had been elected. I had run for office. So I was, I was enjoying being a father. I was, coaching my kids. I was available on the weekends and nights. So I was enjoying that space, which we all need. Right. Yep. So when they called me, though, my wife said something that was very important to me. At the time, because I really struggled with whether I should take the position, was that if not me, then who?
Right? Why did you struggle?
I struggled because I was enjoying being a dad.
Okay.
And I sort of was intentional about, I had been at debate stage. I had been in community meetings. I had been a beacon. I had been in the community meetings after community meetings. I was enjoying this phase of my life. I had entered into my 40s. I'm running a lot more now. I got fitter. So I was sort of just kind of enjoying this new phase that as an individual, as a man, I was going into, right? Which is just being a family man. And I knew as soon as I came into this position, all of that would be going away again, right?
Okay. So what made you take the jump, knowing all that?
Because I knew that, for me, this is my purpose. Right. It was sort of, okay, you didn't get DA, but you got this. You need to be involved now. This is where you need it.
Okay.
Right. So there's sometimes in life, which is, I ran for DA, so that didn't land. It's sort of, okay, let me do this other thing. Right. But I also was sort of not looking to continue in this path, if you will. But sometimes we run from our callings, if you will, right? You should say
your passion that you talked about earlier around criminal justice and whatnot was sort of reinvigorated because you were given time to be a dad. And okay, so you got the call. And how long have you been in this position?
It'll be 2 years next month.
Okay. Right. If I were to, I usually start off like this. If I were to ask you to describe OPAT in whatever multiple contexts, one context. If I were to ask you to describe OPAT right now with one word, first word that comes to your mind is what?
Civilian oversight.
That's 2 words, but I get you.
Yeah.
Okay. Civilian. Okay. People. Civilian oversight.
People.
So
people.
We know that this came post that George Floyd. The correlation between when you was doing in the state and then when this started just kind of hit me. Whatever. Right. It just kind of hit me. Okay. So it's in place. Stephanie Everett got it up and running. She got appointed, and you're in. First of all, in your words, not the mission of what's on the website or whatever, and I'm going to share the website just so folks can go look while we're live. What is the purpose of OPAT?
The purpose of OPAT, in my words, is this. And folks, please listen closely. Okay, it's to allow. It's to me, it's the purpose of police community relationship building. Okay, when we talk about community policing, this, in fact, what it does, it gives community a formal authority. Community. This is why I was saying civilian oversight, people, community. Okay, if you want to call it, the one word is community, right? Okay. Community oversight. Why? Because we have boards, particularly the one board that's 9-member board, civilian review board, that are individuals from the community that are appointed by the mayor to serve on our board. Now, the key thing that people should know that's different than before.
I'm just taking notes because I don't have a pen.
It's okay.
Okay.
Please. But what I was saying is, so the main thing that OPAT changed, right, is that in the past, before OPAT existed, people's option to file a complaint against a member of BPD was the only option was to go to BPD.
In what was internal affairs
oversight.
Is there still an internal affairs?
Internal affairs division.
Is there still a division within BPD? Okay.
It is.
Just curious.
And all police departments across the country have it. Okay. Now we're saying, okay, if you have a complaint, come to a community organization. Come to an organization that's led by civilians. That's non-law enforcement in a sense, right? That's essentially community driven. That community members make the final decision on the cases. So before you file a complaint, it goes to internal affairs, it goes through the system, and the commissioner makes the final decision there. But now, if you file a complaint with us, it stays with us.
Yep.
I have, obviously I have community engagement. Shout out to Corey.
Shout out to Brother Corey for making this happen.
Corey's been very helpful. And that's one of the things that I focused on too, is going in the community, right? And
he actually shared a little bit of how he landed there and what the focus was.
Thank you. So, and that's been critical. So connecting to the community. Because when Stephanie was there, she was primarily focused on getting up and running. Right. So when I came in chapter 2, if you will, was she's trying to make sure that people understand it better. So we got, we got things like, a sign on the door, basic things. We have pamphlets that we didn't have before. Right. I'm doing community meetings. I'm doing coffee hours on a regular basis. Right. I'm doing more of these things.
Continuing to build on.
Continuing to build on that. Right. So, but let me just close out what I was saying initially before I lose that frame of thought. Now, so when people file a complaint, and how do they file a complaint? They can come to our office. 2201 Washington Street in Newbern Square.
2201 Washington Street. Yep.
They can go on our website. Okay.
Folks, the website is actually in the comments.
Thank you. They can call our office. They can walk in. They can also file a complaint on our website. Again, like actually anonymously, right? They don't even have to so if you see something, say something. You don't have to.
They don't necessarily have, when you say anonymous, and I don't want to get too far ahead, but let's go there. They can see something and file it anonymously. And therefore, one, I'm hearing that you don't necessarily have to follow up with them if they see something. How do you, with it anonymously with no backtracking, how do you avoid also?
It has its challenges.
Okay. Thank you for being.
If the person doesn't provide you enough information, if you can't identify the officer, things like that may happen. Ideally, the person will identify themselves. Right. So because we have intake coordinators, investigators that can follow up with you, do an interview, and figure out what happened. Right.
Okay. Let's back up a little bit because we got ahead. We're in this. We do this. There's some presumed things that we know. Okay. So an incident happens.
Yes.
There's a current one that I know you can't speak to and don't have a lot of information. So it's hypothetical based on what we both are interpreting literally in real time. We both got this information this weekend. There's an incident where, and this has actually unfortunately been a trend, and there's a lot of discussion, behind it. And my fear is, if you remember in Forest Hills, the incident with the MBTA, that discharge happened during a tussle.
Mhm.
I say that because there have been a lot of incidents with our young people in law enforcement to where it's reported that young people were fighting the police officer. Okay.
Right.
In a situation where the young people feel, and we got phones and stuff today, that they were done wrong. How do young people end, or let's really bring it back simple. You mentioned a website. They
Correct.
go on the website, put their information. Ideally, if it's not anonymous, they're putting their contact information. They're describing what happened.
Correct.
Do they have the ability to upload a video or just narrative text?
I believe they can upload a video.
Can you double check on the site and see if they can upload a video? Or actually, I can go to it real quick.
We have an intake form.
You have an intake form that they
And
fill out.
The other thing is that once we get that information, particularly if the person identifies themselves,
Yep.
we then, my investigators are trained to ask you if you have a video. So
Okay.
even if you can't, post it right away,
Okay.
right? You can call our office and say, or send an email, right? So this
So you do an intake.
correct.
They get an investigator, or is there a triage before they get an investigator, or is
So-
the investigator the triage?
No, so there is an intake
Yep.
person, like a
Okay.
coordinator,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So that's the first contact.
Okay.
Depending, if you go on a website and you file a complaint, there's an intake coordinator that will call you and follow up. If just kind of say we got it.
Okay.
Is what's going on? What's the next step? Then it gets to assign to an investigator.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
If the intake person deems, or just that's the process.
Well, obviously, there's some basic jurisdiction stuff we have to establish.
Okay.
We provide oversight over the Boston Police Department, right?
only.
Correct.
Only.
Right. So we have stuff which we can help people with, submit it to post commission. And Corey's trying to show you something there.
So you do have the ability. Thank you. You do have the ability on the intake form to upload a video.
Oh, exactly.
Okay. So if you have the video, upload it.
Right.
So they intake, they get assigned an investigator. Can I ask, what is your ideal turnover of
Mhm.
intake and being contacted? From the time they finish the intake and when they get that first contact, what's your ideal turnover time versus what you got an idea of happening right now?
It's, my thing, I push this on my team all the time, right? We need to be cognizant that people, memories are lost, videos are lost, right? So
Okay.
we try 48 hours, right? 48
Okay,
hours
that's your
to make that
ideal
person-
time. Yes.
Sometimes it may take a week, depending on the situation. If
Okay.
you can't find the person, but I'm quick to sort of, particularly if people email me directly, right?
Okay.
It's sort of boom, you just pass it, make sure this person is contacted. Customer service to us is paramount.
Okay.
Because people come to us because they want to be seen and they want to be heard.
Absolutely.
Right? Right.
And it takes, I thought you were going to say this, but
Yes.
it does take, for some, I think in this climate, in past, it does take a certain level of courage
Correct.
to pursue this, because there is this, sometimes perception that that's law enforcement and they're just going to, get away with stuff. And so, I just wanted to name that people make time and take courage to fill that out and follow up on something that
Correct.
happened to them. So they
And-
get an invest. Go ahead.
The one thing that you remind me to say there is that we are independent of the Boston Police Department. We do not, we're an agency of the city.
Okay, we're going to go there in a minute.
Okay.
I want to get the folks through the process,
Go
and
ahead.
then we're going to go into
Sure.
some of the other stuff that,
Okay.
that I'm sure for what we can talk about. So they get an investigator. The investigator contacts them. Ideally, they have a video or whatever. I'm familiar because some folks reached out to me about their, and I was in your inbox
Yep.
a year or so ago.
You were. So
A
it's
year-
great thing too, because having people reach out, if you know somebody that knows somebody,
Yep.
if you don't feel comfortable,
Yep.
that's how we get things done as well. Like I
Yeah,
saw
yeah.
your name in there. I think there was a city councilor involved. So those things, as government agencies,
Mhm.
those all matter.
They
right?
do. They
if
do
it's-
matter. Not to interrupt you, but my thing
Go ahead,
is
please.
that person, and this,
Yes.
they had a connection, and we still had some,
Right.
back and forth. So what I want to ask in that vein, what surprised me was that there is a number that is assigned to each case, correct?
Correct.
Is that number assigned by not numeric intake?
More or less.
And
Correct.
then how do you determine what case? Because I think you have a public meeting, or you have
That's
the
the-
commission
that's the
meeting.
that's the-
How do you
the board?
the board prioritizes based on allegations and severity, or is it simply by case 1, case 2, case 3, and they just go through them numerically? How do they?
It's a combination of both.
Okay,
right?
all right.
We are. It's as a former prosecutor, I'll say it this way: is the case ready too? Right? Is the person ready?
So
Like,
that's a benefit we have with having two attorneys, Stephanie,
Correct.
having attorneys in that position.
correct.
Okay, cool.
Because we want to get the evidence. The person, sometimes it may take a few months to do it. Sometimes it may take longer. If the person is sick, if the person's out of
So you
out
do
of town, or we can't identify the officer, whatever the case may be. So
Okay.
it's case by case.
case by case, but if everybody has anything, has everything, it would more than likely go in a numeric queue.
Correct.
Okay, but
And-
ideally, you want the case to be as solid as possible when you present it.
Correct.
Okay.
Because here's why, right? One, the key thing the folks to understand is this is where the community people in community, right? As
Yep.
I said earlier, I don't make the final decisions on those cases, right? So we do an investigation and we put it before this board. So again, CRB, we call it, it's Civilian Review Board.
Yep.
All people from the community that are on this board, and they come in and we almost like it's an administrative hearing, we call it, right? It's a process that happens at OPAT. It's largely public. We then put the case, we'll have 8 cases, and the board will come in. We'll need to have a quorum, right?
Yep.
And they come in and listen to the cases, right? Then that person, the person that made the complaint can come in and talk. The police officers can come in and talk. If there's witnesses, they can come in and talk. If obviously, largely right now you have body cameras, they'll review the reports from BPD, any cameras from, ring cameras from outside and things like that. So we present the evidence to the board and they vote.
Question is the board considered the IAOP members?
So good question. Number one, there's 2 boards. This is sort of I'm glad we're going through it.
Oh, there's a CRB.
There's a CRB. Thank you.
Yep.
The other board is IOP for short.
Yeah.
It's the Internal Affairs Oversight Panel. Remember earlier when I said that people traditionally and still today can go to BPD to file a complaint?
Yep.
They go to Internal Affairs Division of BPD.
Yep.
Now, which used to happen in the past as well, they still can appeal to us for review once it goes through the BPD system. So on one hand, you can come directly to us,
Okay.
CRB, Civilian Review Board.
Yep.
On the other side, if
You
go
can go.
to
You can
BPD,
still go. So you can. What I'm learning from you is OPAT is not the only option. There's
correct.
the internal affairs, and if I'm hearing you correctly, you can go through the internal affairs process and then still IAOP through you.
Right. So once the thing that's when you go to Internal Affairs
At BPD. Yep.
then our process was sort of like this.
Yes, off
right?
of it.
So
Yep.
then it'll take time
Yep.
for it to finally come on the top end, if you will.
Okay.
And at that point, then you have 14 days to appeal, essentially.
And the appeal is done through the IAOP.
Correct. So
Okay,
then we
got
get,
you.
so at
Okay.
that point, the key distinction is that in that case, we are not investigating the complaints. We are reviewing.
The investigation that was done. Let's just note
Correct.
that was done internally by BPD.
Correct. Right. And we're reviewing for 2 things to determine whether it was fair or thorough.
Okay.
Right. So, and we can say we disagree or agree with them. Right.
Yeah.
So those in this board is 5 members. The Internal Affairs Oversight Panel is 5 members, largely lawyers. Judge Leslie, I'm sure was the first chair of it. Now is Attorney Fugate, who 40 years as a criminal defense attorney.
I just want to say that both I put the link in the comments, and the current Civilian Review Board members, and also the IAOP members
Yes.
are on the website if
They
you
are.
want to know that. And then OPAT Commission, you can also get the notes and things from there.
Okay.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that folks knew that.
Let me just wrap
Yes,
it
yes,
up
yes.
at the top
We're
end.
not.
Okay.
We're almost there, but go ahead.
Okay.
Wrap up that process,
Because you
please.
keep saying commission. So every time you say something, it cues me the next information.
Okay.
The chair of each board,
Yep.
boards, the chair of each,
Yep.
along with me,
Yep.
we are the OPAC Commission, and I'm the chair of that. Now, what that does,
It's a 3-person commission made up
Correct.
of IOP leadership, CRB leadership,
and myself,
and yourself. Okay.
and I'm the chair of that. That is where when people talk about subpoena power exists. So we can subpoena, which we
good
did,
transition.
which we just did, for the first time a few months ago.
Are you allowed to say around what or no?
Yes, I mean the cases. It's the CRB cases that I was talking about.
So they're public. CRB cases.
They're
Okay.
public CRB cases. Those cases though are still pending.
Okay.
So I can't talk on
Okay.
those
Understood.
cases.
Yep.
But what I'm saying, and many people probably read this too. When I took the job, this has been one of the things that people talk about. Oh, you have subpoena power, you haven't used it. We haven't used it. So what I'm saying now is that we've used it. And
Okay.
we'll continue to do it when we need to.
So let's get ready to go there as we
Sure.
wrap up. One of the things, thank you for taking us through the process. Thank you for defining the commission, the AOP and the CRB. Government and all these damn acronyms.
Civilian Review
Board, CRB.
Internal Affairs Oversight Panel.
Yeah, that one. It's on the website, y'all.
It is.
So when you talk about subpoena power, there has been in the media, there was a report that you recently put out.
Correct.
And
I did that. Yes, thank you.
When you said civilian, I asked your word for OPAT and you said civilian oversight.
Civilian oversight.
Civilian oversight. People.
And I said community.
Okay. So with that, let me ask you, with that subpoena power that the 3-person commission has, you can subpoena what? Actual officers to testify and come before what would be like, does it function like a grand jury? I had one of the questions.
No, it functions like remember the CRB with the Civilian Review Board?
Yes.
Where there's a hearing?
Yes.
They make the decision on what happened?
Yep.
It functions like coming to court to testify on your
Now,
case.
is that done just with the 3 commission or is that done with the CRB? So it's the subpoena power is done away from the Right. I just thought it was the 3 commission that can
the 3 commissioners.
Yes, sir.
We are sort of the overall agency.
Yes. Yep.
Right. We have the authority to create regulations that we're doing.
Yep.
Right. So that's the overall, right?
Okay.
Because of 2 boards represented in this space, right?
Yep.
So it can't technically subpoena somebody to come testify in front of the commission. What I'm saying though, that the first time that we used it, and likely the space that is more automatic, it comes to ask people to come testify before the CRB.
Okay,
because
gotcha.
That's where the investigations are mostly going to.
Okay.
The investigations do not go through the commission.
Okay, but the commission is the one that has the power to subpoena for the board.
Correct.
Got you. Okay.
Right.
So you all subpoena, and there's been things in the media, Evandro, that leads me to ask, at the end of the day, as much as this is community and power and things like that, you make a recommendation. Let's say you subpoena and you find that there was incorrect, too aggressive, lethal, in some cases, behavior that lethal would be handled in another. And let me ask you this as a side note, just a thought. Lethal cases are cases that are in the DA's office. Does that automatically take that out of your office?
More or less.
Okay, more or less.
So,
even if it's filed and it winds up making it to the DA's office for whatever reason, weeks later, your jurisdiction is kind of.
Here's the key factor. We do not do criminal investigations.
Okay, you do investigations around procedures and protocols of the police department.
Misconduct, rules broken, and things like that. Disrespectful.
Say that. Look in the camera and say that again, so people know exactly.
So people understand this. Okay, we do not have the authority to do criminal investigations. That's the district attorney's office that does it. What we do procedures violations, rule violations, people being obviously abuse of force, right? That are non-lethal or non-lethal criminal.
Does an automatic discharge remove it from your I would presume a discharge, meaning that a gun went off from a police officer in a file complaint that, let's say someone got shot. I'm kind of answering my question as I'm asking. That automatically goes to the DA's office because somebody got shot. That wouldn't have anything to do with your office. Okay.
Right. So
sorry.
So what happens is, obviously a lot of this is happening right now. So that's also something to highlight.
Yes, sir.
Because OPAT, right,
has
the
no
DA, even like the first time that we've had sort of somebody charged
in 30 years.
1991. Right. So as a system, right, criminal justice system, and OPAT is in that space. Right? It's first time that's happening. So a lot of, I'm looking at ordinance and trying to figure out where and what we can and cannot do. So a lot of this which is good. Like when you make laws, right, and create laws, which I'm privileged to have done some, is then you have to execute it. And execution then shows you what we did right.
And where there are loopholes.
There you go.
That weren't the gaps or that weren't in the peer review at the time. Let's just frame it like that.
Correct.
Okay. So let's speed things up a little bit more.
Sure.
So you clarified what you do. We went through the process, and then you talked about subpoena power. And in that vein, I want to ask that so you make investigation is found, something went wrong. You then do what? Recommend to the police commissioner?
That's correct.
Via the 3-person or any
at that point is
it could be CRB, IOAT.
It's execution by the office, by me and my team.
Okay.
So I send a letter to Commissioner Cox
with recommendations.
Right. And a report too.
And
right.
a report.
Right.
So recommending based on the report.
Actually, I should say this. There's a step that we missed.
Okay. Thank you.
The board, the CRB, particularly, I'm just focusing on because the investigation is
yes, sir.
Here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. They not only determine whether something happened or not, they also make recommendations as to the outcome, the consequences.
I was going to say penalty or
penalty.
Okay.
Okay.
So
if it's suspension, if it's
desk duty.
Correct. We haven't done those, but it's usually like oral reprimand, starts with oral reprimand to suspensions to complete fire this person. Has there
been anything that comes before? Because while you're investigating, presumably an officer is still functioning, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
That's interesting there based on the allegation. And I know you don't make the rules, but I thought that I wanted to ask that while if an investigation is going on for 6 to 8 months, that officer is still active.
Right.
In the worst case scenario, after those 8 months, you found that case, the officer was blatantly just too aggressive, racist, 6 to 8 months, other people had become victims. Okay, so then you make a recommendation per the report.
Yes.
And recommend
the CRB does though.
The CRB
the
does
community
those.
members.
Yep.
Okay.
They do that, and then you execute, as you said, it to the commissioner.
Correct.
Does the commissioner have to go with your recommendation? Does the commissioner have to go with the CRB's recommendation? Yes or no?
I love the yes or no questions. It's a simple one. He doesn't.
He doesn't. So that's no.
It's there's nothing. I love that takes me back to debate. Yes or no? It's not always yes or no, but it is.
It's a gray area. But technically, you're a lawyer.
Correct.
By law, it is no. He does not. The
ordinance, right? The ordinance says that he does. So the ordinance gives him the ability to make the final decision, whatever that may be.
Yep.
Which again, a lot of this. And I'm happy to engage with folks more, but a lot of this I've played in the media as well, which the community has sort of been upset about, right? That's talking about gaps, if you want to be frank. Right. That's been a space that others have communicated loud and clear.
Mm-hmm. And not only the union plays a role. With where I'm not gonna mess with you, but I'm saying that behind the scenes and whatnot, there's stuff that we know that goes on with pressure and things like that or whatever. So he didn't say that, I did. And so the commissioner does have the ability to say yes or no. In your purview, if you've done any research under Stephanie's time or whatever, do you have a percentage number of where your recommendations would adhere to?
Again,
or follow?
This has been well published and documented.
In the report.
In the report, yes. and also in the media, right? Let's back up a little bit as I answer that question. Number one, the reports that we do, when it goes through the CRB, they voted on this.
You all got a whole dashboard on the website.
Thank you. Whole dashboard. So this space of transparency is critical to understand. Our reports are on our website.
Here by yeah. Okay, it's right here.
Find the reports and find out what the officer did or didn't do, and obviously, we try to protect the complainant.
Yep.
So some of it is redacted, but you can see the names of the people involved and what transpired. Number two, the commission is also required to write us a response in saying if he's not going to follow the direction that we give him, as to why it isn't, right? So that's also built on the ordinance, but executing that also has been a little tough, but we're doing better than before in this space, okay? So, but it's a small percentage that he's followed.
Okay.
And that again,
a small percentage that he's followed your recommendations.
correct.
Okay.
So that's again not up for debate in a sense that it's in fact the CRB wrote him a letter. The CRB, the board, not me, which obviously it's
That's
all
the
of
community.
us. But
Yep.
I want sort of sometimes, because of all the different spaces, I like to emphasize the CRB wrote him a letter in September, said this is unacceptable.
Mhm.
Right? We're community members. We're trying to do the best we can. We made decisions. We're not hearing back from you. He wrote a letter back. So we're in the space of right now where again we're executing and we're pushing our
Yep.
authority, and we're seeing gaps, and but we're also moving forward. Things are moving in the right direction.
Progress is good.
Progress is good, and sometimes, unfortunately, when you get in the community, and I take the hits in the community.
Mhm.
I've been doing it for decades. It's okay for me to do it. That's why I take these jobs.
Mhm.
As I said before, that was one of the things, because now you're back in the community, which I love doing them, but it's not always easy to be in those spaces. Now, and I'll say this: that's been, and I get the frustration in the community in terms of how things are moving slow.
Mhm.
And I all I can say is that as the leader of this agency and my team, we're doing the best we can, and we're pushing. We're pushing.
How far does your push go? Because is there another level at which the commissioner may write back and say, "This is why I'm not doing it"? Is it finality?
That's the
finality.
That's in
This-
the ordinance.
This board doesn't have the ability to go to the commissioner's boss or anything.
I should say as well that the reports
Yep.
are also sent to
The mayor's
the mayor
office.
and the city councilors, okay, as well, in a sense. So that's
the report. I'm sorry. The commit. Let's say you make a recommendation. The
Mhm.
commissioner responds and says X, Y, and Z as to why he's not following it. Does his letter back to the board also go to the council and the mayor as well?
Those actually do not.
Why not?
They go on our website. And perhaps that's a step that we should take.
I was going to say,
yeah.
is that something that Henry Santana, maybe have a conversation with Henry
Yes, that's something to do.
because they should be made aware that because at the end of the day, when you say, and I hear your heart, I'm not
Yeah.
pushing back against
No,
what
I
you say. When you
appreciate
say commission, I mean, when you say community, civilian led, and things like that, after going through the courage of submitting, going through the process, uploading the video and whatnot, you found through your cadre of professionals that something happened. That decision and letter that goes back that does not go with that, that's not community.
Yes. I
And,
agree.
and I think that's where we need some level of accountability, either through the council or does post, and this is questions in real time, does post-op have anything to do with your
It
office?
doesn't, but we're establishing that process.
Like an IGR sort of approach.
Yes,
open- yeah.
yes, and no. Like I actually know Enrique, who leads post, and
Okay.
he and I have been in conversations and talking behind the scenes in terms of what how things are going. And I'll highlight one thing, since you brought this issue up.
Yep.
Right? Again, it was in the news ton, up for 6 months or more. Okay. And so there was one case, this is perhaps the most serious case that we had, where the allegations was that the officer essentially punched a young man with a weapon, with his firearm.
Mhm.
He was chasing him and punched him. Okay. We determined that the officer, we had a hearing before
Yep.
the CRB.
Yep.
And the CRB recommended the officer is fired. Okay. This, again, the letters to the commissioner, and so all of that came on the website, and the media got wind of it, and somehow too talked to the family and others.
Mhm.
So it became a thing as to why, right? So what I'm saying is that people often forget this transparency side of things, that you can now find information at like our meetings are the commission meeting, which I should mention to folks.
It was one last week.
There will be one on Thursday at the Grove Hall Library from 3:30.
Can you get me
to
if you do a flyer? If you do a flyer,
Yeah.
give me the flyer and I'll post
Right.
it. Okay.
So those meetings,
Okay.
those meetings,
Send me the JPEG.
JPEG. Those meetings are all public meetings. I've had meetings with Fox News right here, the Globe is right here. So the community members are coming to watch this meeting. So the transparency side of things pressures the system as a whole to react and to move. Right. So I think that's often discounted in amongst all this. So I wanted to highlight that because this case really kind of highlight how, though he can make the final decision, he still has to answer for it to us, but he also still has to answer for it in the members of the public. And as you alluded to, the mayor as well as the city councilors, right?
So there is at least there is potential, whether currently they get the commissioner's response back or not, for there to be another level of appeal to either through the council and or the mayor, possibly when the commissioner doesn't go with your recommendation. The other thing I wanted to ask, and I'll let you go, is that by procedure, with where you can answer this, if there is a officer that winds up getting a different level of investigation, either through post-op or through the DA's office, is there automatically an inquiry into if there were cases with OPAT? Meaning if another investigative body, a little bit bigger jurisdiction.
Yes, it's not automatic.
It's not automatic.
Because here's why. OPAT is a city law, right? So it doesn't mandate anything to other agencies,
right? County or state. or
right. However, they've been asking us.
Right? They do ask OPAT if it's a Boston police officer. They will ask OPAT if there are active or resolved. Has there been any investigations to said person that they're investigating?
Correct.
Okay.
And I think largely, to be honest, the defense attorneys now know that we exist. They come on our website. They asking for information.
They want to get the information beforehand.
So it's called Rule 17 motion, which is sort of just forcing the DA to get information elsewhere that they may have. So there's methods to get this, is what I'm saying. But because people know we're here, reports are published online. The defense attorneys can literally, and I would say if I was a defense attorney today, I would be trolling over there, just at least put the person's name. And Post also has a bunch of information to see if the officer has been decertified in the past. So Post commission at the state level has that information as well. I think at this point, if you're doing the criminal defense attorney in the city of Boston and in the state of Massachusetts, you're not doing basic, Googling the person's name, the officers involved, going to Post website, going to our website.
So right now, if we're basically what you're saying, if I'm aware of anybody that's being investigated, because it's public information, I can go on the website and find out if there have been investigated. If there's an active investigation, does what OPAT has get blacked out?
Correct.
I knew I had to ask that. So right now, if I went and looked up a certain name,
right,
this under active investigation, I can't find it on OPAT.
So we cannot give information.
No. I'm not talking about your investigation. Let's say you investigated someone.
Right.
They now would be investigated by another investigative body.
Right.
Because the other investigative body is in a active investigation, does what you have at OPAT disappear until the investigation's over?
No. No. So what we do, depending on, this is our process, right?
Yes, sir.
Is our investigation done or not? Is that question.
Okay. I would say if your investigation is not done, obviously it's not out there. If it's done, it stays there, whether they go and get investigated by another body or not.
Correct.
Okay.
But we can, when we're starting to communicate, particularly with the Post commission.
Yep.
Right. And I've, obviously, I actually know the DA. When I was at ADA, I had cases with him. So I sat down with him and his team to figure out how we're going to work together, how we can share information. But again, when it's a criminal investigation, like some of the ones we're seeing now, that's DA. He doesn't necessarily, does not automatically check with us. Right. We're city agents.
Okay.
Right. Does that make sense?
I folks that know why I'm asking. So I want to ask you this, Evandro. You're in this role, and I remember someone in City Hall told me, 24/7, when you're in these type of roles, but you're from community. You're a Black man. You saw the recent video with our young people. Black men, if I'm right, tend to be your largest number of complainants. Black people, and then is it men more than?
Yes, I would assume so. I don't have that number in front of me. I can't read you some numbers. That I think
give me a couple,
helpful.
but while you're looking at that, I'm curious as to if you know or not. if any complaints have been filed, or if you have a number of complaints filed on behalf of young people. Has that ever come in your purview?
Yes.
Okay.
And
I don't ask for numbers right now, but I'm
we
just
have
curious.
that information. I will say, I mean, a good amount of our complaints are when we talk about young people as young as 17.
Mhm.
This case that I was talking about earlier, where the young man was
Hit with the gun.
yeah, I think he was 17, about or 18,
Yep.
because he was playing with his friends outside. And so we see, a lot young people are, like I was, right? Particularly when you're talking for Black boys, unfortunately, sometimes too early in our ages, but certainly when you're a teenager into your mid-20s, right?
Mhm.
So, and this is why at OPAT, this is one thing I'll say in closing in terms of what we do, particularly young people. Number one is the CRB.
Mhm.
There's a young person's we call it youth
Voice.
delegate.
Okay. There's a youth.
That's only for youth. Amongst the 9, there's
Yep.
one that's dedicated for young people. Okay, and right
To
now
be
we
a
have-
youth voice on
yes,
the
to be
okay.
on the board, to be part of the issues, to vote. Like
Okay.
they are kind of say they're a member of the city council, the youth committee. The school committee.
Yep.
They are a member like anyone else.
Okay.
Okay. And number 2, which Corey is helping me to do, this is something that Stephanie started, is the youth council. We're trying
Yes.
that we're going to try to get off the ground. That's rolling already. We're already connecting with the city, with the jobs,
Okay.
so young people get paid, to get them involved, to advise me, to be part of the program, to understand what's going on, and have
Mhm.
conversations with the community, with our boards, so we can determine how else we can be helpful to them.
That's a good way to, if you could end this out and speak to the people. I know you've seen a lot of conversation about it starts at home, it's with the parents. I'm specifically talking to engaging with police, young people, that I think one of the, outcomes of a post George Floyd, Michael Brown period is that there is I don't want to put it on the young people. The trust that we should be able to have in law enforcement for various reasons is not there. And it post-COVID, and I think George Floyd and whatnot, it's caused some interesting behaviors. I've often said that the police aren't going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. The police aren't. And we certainly aren't. Something happens right now, Evandro, outside this house.
Mhm.
What are we going to do? We're going to call 911.
Right.
My fear is that something is going to transpire with the youth that may result in being out of your office. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
Because it may be lethal.
Correct.
Evandro, Black man from this community, what do you say to parents and young people about how to engage? And then I would also, because I'm sure some law enforcement, there was a question here, influence of the union. I know some of y'all union folks are watching too. What is it that you would say to law enforcement about being cognizant of behaviors with young people in some of the most horrible, worst circumstances?
Okay. Great question.
Those two.
Number one, I'll start this way. As I mentioned, particularly because I wasn't born in this country. And number 2, my father passed away when I was 11 years old in Cape Verde in a car accident, which is, I think, one of the reasons why I'm always, looking up,
Mhm.
trying to find Black men in particular
Mhm.
to help me with lessons, right?
Bro, I don't think that ever. I'm 54, and
You're
there's
still-
still,
right,
there's still an impact. So
we're
that's
still
real.
trying
Thank
to
you
find,
for
trying
Yeah,
to find
yeah.
others that teach us the lessons, right? And I was a young person, a teenager, and I was a rebel, man. Like, I did not care for authority. I got suspended all
You?
the time. I got into fights at Madison. And for me, number one, I'll tell parents not to give up on their kids. Okay, that's critical for
Yep.
me. That was the change. If nothing else, if there was
Mhm.
one thing that made a difference for me, was that when I got in trouble, my mom. Okay, I worked 2-3 jobs, but I'm coming.
Mhm.
Right, not to give up on them. Number
Mhm.
one. Number 2, I remember, again, back then having those interactions with police and sort of just being pissed, just sort of, upset and yelling and just
Mhm.
and I get, too anxious and angry, right? And it's Coach Wilson. I'm not sure if you know who he is.
Coach Dennis Wilson.
Okay.
Yep.
And I had talking about history. I had American history with them, and at Madison. Okay, and he gave me the talk. He's the one that talked to me how you behave with police as a Black boy. He said, and this is my message to young people. At the end of the day, OPAT can come in later. DA can come in later. But in the moment, decisions that you make as a young person, it's your life mostly impacted, right? So,
And that's not just you're not just alluding to at worst death.
correct.
It's
Yes,
forever being in a system and
Correct.
and okay. I just
right. So, and I know some people may push back on this, and I was a young person that pushed back, right? But he said, "Yes, sir. If you felt wrong, you can take it up later, but not try to escalate." Like he taught me de-escalation as a teenager,
Yeah.
right? Just calm down,
Mhm.
right? You feel wronged, but literally, as you just alluded to, sometimes your life can be taken away, and
Yeah.
that's all you have, right? And number two, which often happens in our community too, then you get you're getting arrested, right? Now you're in the system.
You're in the system,
You're in
and
the
it's
system,
and
right?
once
That's
you're
the
in,
critical thing.
and once you're in,
and so for me, that was the conversation that really kind of calmed me down.
and then
Is-
what would you say to law enforcement about it's so interesting just to ask because
Yes.
in the back of my mind I'm like, oh, everything is sort of that blue sort of thing and whatnot, but what is it that you would say to officers that may tune in or watch about engagement with the community period?
The critical thing is engagement. You just said, right? It's actually engaging people in the community, right? And understand, and particularly, and that's one of the things that's positive. I would
Mhm.
say, someone who, and I'm sure you can relate to this, is that a lot of the officers in our community now, they're not the officers from back in the day.
Oh, no.
Okay, you see, Cape Verdean dudes and women.
We see women
you see
and
women,
like
you see,
Sky
right, you
and
see-
Nora
yeah, yeah.
and
right.
I forgot the sister's name, Curling. Yeah.
Many canoe, like there's so many
Yes,
people, right?
yes.
So, and for me, that's important because I didn't grow up with that.
No.
Right. So,
All we had was Officer, and that was in my 20s. Remember Officer Donut?
yeah.
He passed away
Yeah.
from YPP. Yeah.
There were like a few you would see. So
Mhm.
that changes the dynamics, right? Because a lot of the folks that are coming up, right, that have been in the system for a long time too, are folks from the community that you grew up with and going to college with. It's kind of like when I became a prosecutor, right? Folks like when somebody came in with a case from a fight in Madison Park, which I did many, I knew to be like,
You got context.
exactly. I'd be like, exactly. That context. Right. I'm glad you said it.
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes,
So
sir.
having people within the system that listen, they may say Wendover, all this, but I was on bus 15. I wasn't Wendover, right? Like, and it doesn't mean, it's a dangerous job, right? It is, right? But it doesn't mean that, that you have to be 100% like, all of a sudden change who you are and be like the super friendly person, but you have that context and channeling that is critical. Knowing that decision you make sometimes is life or death, right?
Not just for the but for the officers.
For the officers too,
Yep.
right? As we see,
Yes.
right?
Right now.
Many die on the line of duty, right? We see those things, right? So, and their families that they go back to, right? So it's a community, right? And so both sides, we have to do the best we can. But ultimately, the onus is, on the person like me. When I'm in the community being yelled at, I'm working, right? In a sense that, to do the best we can, make decisions that help.
Good example.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of energy,
Right.
to a law enforcement right now. But that
Right,
bringing
right.
that back home to that absorb. Yeah. So I used to have to absorb some things. Brother Evandro, we are about 5 minutes over time. Actually, we're about 20 minutes over time.
No, I
Corey.
cleared my schedule.
But, you did?
I just was sort of,
You had an idea
to
to be-
you text me.
we've
like a
been
long
talking
time.
about
You-
this.
You've been wanting me to come for a long time. This sort of so, I made sure to be available.
And we made sure we made it happen.
And your audience is important, man. I wanted to take the time to explain to people what we do and don't do, and I didn't want to rush through it.
Yeah.
And let people know who I am and why why I do the work that I do too. So for me, it's very personal. This work is very personal,
sir.
The intensity, I can't hide it, right? But also, I'm an attorney. I got to make sure that I'm doing things the right way, follow procedure, follow process, read the laws,
Yes, sir.
right, and talk to my God, and just figure out how to best be the man that I can be for the people.
This was good. This was good. I knew it was going to be good. And as much as some people down at that brick building on at City Hall Plaza, I knew what the motive was for having you here. And I hope people got the information and the education they need about how to deal with this, what you do, what your office does do. Is one of the questions I asked, where the power does lie. So we are kind of walking away with one action item, and I'm in his text all the time. So I'll text Counselor Santana, as well as keeping in touch with you about that. There may need to be that correspondence where the commissioner responds unfavorable to your recommendation. That correspondence needs to go to City Council, and I'm sure it goes to the mayor as well. But because we need that other level of accountability. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. This was thank you, man. Corey, thank you for making this happen. Listen, folks, we're going to let you go. Don't forget tomorrow. And this is kind of related to you, but not just law enforcement. Tomorrow, as you all know, last Thursday, we had technical issues at WGBH. We had the director of the Office of Problem Gambling Services with us. Problem gambling is a public health issue. So for your Healthy Java's episode tomorrow at 10 a.m., we will broadcast that conversation with Victor Ortiz from the Department of Public Health and also Ben Hines from the Boston Chinese Neighborhood, Association. So please be with us tomorrow at 10 a.m. Please share this episode with someone, tag people. And if you know somebody that has dealt with an incident, you heard what Evandro said about coming in with all the information, get most of it, go to the website, file, be ready for a process, and know that this office will do what it is that they can do to carry your case forward. But at the end of the day, the buck does not stop with them. So then at some point, we may need to rally around getting that ordinance updated so City Council is aware when the decision is not favorable to go with this office's recommendation. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.